against bad policies and foolish rhetoric. But I don't see the revolt, especially in the big cities. I see acceptance of terrible policies and incompetent leadership. I hope I'm wrong. I hope in the midterm elections, American voters send a message. We need effective and honest government. Back after this. AMAC is the leading conservative advocacy and benefits organization. AMAC gives you access to exclusive benefits, insightful news, and a magazine full of uncensored content. They are pushing back against efforts to defund the police, weaken the borders, and corrupt our youth. But they need your help. Please stand with AMAC at amac.us. That's amac.us. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
Summer's over, but that joint pain is still there. Time to do something. Hey, it's Branden Rathert. I want you to call QC Kinetics now. You've put it off long enough. It's time to get real lasting relief from chronic pain in your knees and back and shoulder and hips. QC Kinetics can get you moving again with cutting-edge regenerative treatments with no drugs, no downtime, and no surgery. Regenerative medicine uses highly concentrated healing properties from your own body to restore and repair damaged joint tissue. And QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in this exciting breakthrough natural approach to eliminating joint pain. Lots of people here have done this, and they are living life to the fullest, pain-free. Don't assume the old ways of dealing with joint pain are the only ways. Call QC Kinetics today. Stop putting it off. Call QC Kinetics now to learn more. 573-545-5588. That's 573-545-5588. 573-545-5588.
News, analysis, opinion. We're 93.9 The Eagle, KSSC, Fayette, Columbia, a free service of Zimmer Communications.
Eagle News Time, 6 o'clock.
Britain's new king has left the castle where Queen Elizabeth died. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. He's now King Charles III and on his way to London on the first day of 10 days of mourning. He'll address Britain later today.
He issued his first statement under this new title saying, quote, "The death of my beloved mother, Her Majesty, the Queen, is a moment of the greatest sadness for me and all my members of my family. We mourn profoundly the passing of a cherished sovereign and a much-loved mother."
Fox's Alex Hogan in London as crowds gather outside Buckingham Palace paying tribute to the Queen, who was on the throne for 70 years, longer than any other British monarch.
Be respected so much for how hard she worked.
do sports. I wouldn't ask you, teach me how to play golf, because you don't know how to play golf, do you?
No, I do not.
You don't have any experience. So I would ask somebody like that. And Joe, he has experience. And one of the comments he made this week, you have the right to be an idiot. You are entitled.
No. Don't let him go. Look, everybody's entitled to be an idiot.
And John, this is what I appreciate about Joe. He's speaking from experience. He's got the experience, so I pay attention to him. He knows what he's talking about. He really does, and it gets to the point, and I don't know whether, hey, you got to call out this guy is the president of the United States. Matter of fact, 7:35, and I love this, CBS, National News Network, CBS did a story, and they went to, like, the villages in Florida, where you and I are going to retire when we get old enough, because that's where everybody goes. They go to the villages in Florida. No kidding. CBS did a story about what older people think about people as old as Joe being in office. And CBS was like, we were kind of surprised by what we found. And Joe is right, and we see that, again, with progressives, this whole progressive mindset. And I'm going to ask you here. I'm running the timer. No more than 2 minutes, okay? I promise. I promise, 2 minutes regarding the death of Queen Elizabeth. So please don't change the station. No more than 2 minutes. And I want to highlight, now we know Liz Truss just became British Prime Minister, and we know she is a self-professed progressive liberal. This is her yesterday.
We offer him our loyalty and devotion, just as his mother devoted so much to so many for so long.
We owe our loyalty and all that good stuff. Liz Truss, as is the progressive mindset, doublespeak. This is her from 1994.
We asked them their opinion of the monarchy. Do you know what they said? They said, abolish them. We've had enough. They didn't say this once, and all three groups of people said, abolish the monarchy. In fact, conference, we couldn't find a single monarchist outside the royal pavilion. How ironic.
They were eating that up. She was all, we don't like the monarchy. We don't like any of that stuff. And that was just a few years ago. And she talked about, by the way, her party affiliation.
I believe that the disillusioned of Brighton should have a chance to vote on this issue, because I believe, like most Liberal Democrats, in democracy. Democracy.
That's what I thought then. That's what I think now. Shock. I had an interesting conversation with Randy Tobler, host of the Randy Tobler Show, weekdays here on the radio station, 4 to 6. He really cares about this. I'm not knocking the guy. He asked me to come on yesterday, and I said, sure, but I'm going to be honest. I'm like, I don't care. John, any thoughts? All right, time's out.
Wow.
No,
wow.
you got 18 seconds. Yeah. And I get that. I'm just Hannah, any thoughts? 12 seconds.
12 seconds
Yeah.
still? Wow.
No, I'll give you a minute.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I think that it's interesting to note she was on the throne for 70 years.
Am I the only one that giggles every time somebody says she was on the throne for 70 years? I don't know why.
Oh, good Lord.
See, and that's why I get in trouble. That's why I don't want to talk about it, because I'll joke about it because I just don't care. And I don't mean any disrespect. Somebody died, and yeah, the world knew who she was. That's why I'm afraid I'll get in trouble.
Yeah, you probably will.
All right. Serious. Anything else, seriously, from your point of view?
It kind of stinks that the world lost such a strong, female leader. The next three people in line for the throne are dudes. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But just, I don't know, a couple, noteworthy things, but I'm not obsessing over it.
Good, because all the national news outlets were, it blew me away, as a matter of fact, one of the things. And then we're going to move on, because the timer's almost up here. And thank you for not...
The timer's been up for a long time, dude.
Well, I'm playing like I'm a progressive. I'm going back on everything I just said.
You're almost at double your original 2-minute timer.
All right, that's enough of that. Let's move forward. Welcome into a Feel Good Friday. Mr. Marsh, welcome into the show. One more thing. CNN yesterday. I love this, like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. There's an analysis of the Queen's death. Like, what's there to analyze? As a journalist, man, I think that a lot of the news outlets are just being lazy. I don't want to talk about other stuff. This is easy to talk about. They did, and they do. By the way, Nash, they do, man.
I know they do. It's just terrible if you think about it. They've got all these obituaries ready to roll.
Mine included. I've seen the obituary that you all have written for me. That's what we do. Mr. Marsh is here. There's producer Hannah.
What up?
My name is Branden Rathert. Something we can do for you on a Feel Good Friday. You want to let us know what it is that you're grateful for? Would love to hear from you. 874-9390, 874-9390. One of the things that we try to do on a Feel Good Friday is talk about what it is that you're grateful for. Try to cover some more of the feel good stuff in the news. And I always feel good when Chuck calls in, 874-9390. What's on your mind today, Chuck?
Well, two things. One, I never took offense to Joe Biden making that statement because I automatically assumed he was just making an excuse for his own behavior.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I never took offense to it whatsoever. I think he's offended himself, and so that makes his followers mad. But
well, and it doesn't make me... I appreciate it because he's speaking from experience, and I have much respect when he says you have the right to be an idiot. He knows what he's talking about.
Well, and as far as analyzing the death of anybody, how simple is it? They were alive at 12:01, they were dead at 12:02. I mean, come on, there's your analysis.
That's what I thought. What are you grateful for today, bud?
I am on my way home today, and it is my grandson's birthday. So,
how about that? Which one? How old's your grandson today?
Well, he's turning 4 today. He's actually the grandson that I adopted 3 years ago. So.
Oh, man.
So he's my grandson.
Amen, brother. You have a great weekend. What's your grandson's name?
Calvin.
Calvin. Tell Calvin that Mr. Marsh and Ms. Producer Hannah and myself all said happy birthday from Wake Up Mid-Missouri.
Well, I will play back the podcast and let him hear it and see what his face looks like when he hears it.
All right. Thank you, Chuck. We appreciate that. You can always check it wherever you get your podcast from. You can download the podcast, or you can go to kwos.com or 939theeagle.com. Check out Wake Up Mid-Missouri, and we have that up every day. You can also watch us on the YouTube channel. Some of the other things coming up this morning here on the show. One more thing, John, if I may, from yesterday, regarding the Queen, and then I promise I'll move forward, because this is my challenge. And yesterday, and I think here on the Gary Nolan show, Gary Nolan got a little bit of flack too, because then it was actually a guest. If Gary Nolan's here every morning starting at 9, and one of his guests actually said something in an offhand fashion, and they got upset at Gary, and Gary's like, I didn't say that. Yesterday, this happened on the show every morning, 8:25. Stephanie Bell does the Morning Bell Business News, little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you. And right as that's ending, we're talking about the Fed. The Fed's going to keep raising interest rates until the end of the year. And somebody in the Fed, I think, said, hey, instead of meeting 4 more times and keep raising it, let's just do it now, because it was inevitable. And so right as we were going into Fox News, and I did want to apologize a little bit for this yesterday, completely not intentional. So the Feds are saying, hey, why do we keep around with this? We're going to meet several more times, and we know what we're going to do every single time. Let's just do the inevitable. Man, what a poor segue here. Speaking of the inevitable, Fox News has more on the Queen Elizabeth.
Oh,
that was
sad. No.
That was not intense. She's 96 years old, and Fox will have more. So I apologize, Hannah. And to actually, I don't know if I apologize, but it's how sensitive people get. And Gary caught flack over it, too, a little bit.
So you apologized and then immediately withdrew your apology.
Yeah, I'm redacting my apology and retracting it. 874-9390. David, welcome into Wake Up Mid-Missouri this morning. What are you grateful for?
Well, I woke up to the greatest nation in the world.
Amen, man.
Hey, you were talking about, I think Wednesday, about McDonald's. I got a good laugh the other day. I walked into McDonald's. I said, hey, did you see online that due to the meat shortage, they're coming out with the all-new McSquirrel burger? The cashiers at the counter going, ain't no way I'm eating no McSquirrel burger.
True story, or are you yanking our tail, man?
No, true story. And finally, the older lady behind the counter says, there ain't no such thing as a McSquirrel burger.
David, thank you. We appreciate you, man. Thanks for making us giggle. We hope you have a great weekend. We appreciate you listening to Wake Up Mid-Missouri. John, you getting your list together for winners and losers of the week. Now, if you're one of our, if you're a newer listener, one of the things we do, or we do it every Feel Good Friday, we pick winners and losers of the week, and we don't apologize for it either, because we used to just nominate winners and losers of the week, and people would get upset. Well, you're just nominating, and so we started picking them, and then people say, well, who are you to pick? And so we apologized, and then immediately retracted our apology, much like we've done this morning. Do you have, you got a couple of folks you want to pick for winners and losers of the week? All right, you got some local stuff in there, too? Because by the way, I'm going to give kudos. I'll do this at 8:35. I'm going to give kudos to a city councilman in Jefferson City, and this had to do with the affordable housing, which was labeled as workforce development housing. So I've got that. We've got some local stuff, and obviously national stuff here on the show. One of the other things, so here's the weird thing about today. So obviously you turn on the national news on the TV, and they're all talking about one thing. But if it weren't for the death of the Queen, you know what they'd all be talking about on the weekday prior to Sunday, which is September the 11th. That's what we'd be seeing on the TV nonstop. There's planes crashing into the towers. But what's always interesting is to look back, and I'll just ask, I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, but if you think about it for a second here, John, do you remember like the big stories like September the 9th, September the 10th of 2001? Right. And and as it relates to politics, there was actually a pretty spectacular story that was unfolding, and this dude in a
is here. My husband is here. Lots of men need to stand up with us at this very crucial moment. It's great turnout. I'm happy to see it. I'm glad that Columbia is here. I know that many marches are happening all around the country today.
So that was following the Supreme Court decision. That happened here in mid-Missouri, ABC 17 with that audio, that people protesting a Supreme Court decision. And we might hear, maybe for the first time, might hear something from one of the justices. That's getting us into today's Daily D.C. Rundown. Steph is off today. Chief Justice John Roberts set to make his first public appearance since SCOTUS overturned Roe v. Wade. He's going to be speaking tonight at a judicial conference in Colorado. Now, he's scheduled to be interviewed by a couple of judges from the Denver-based 10th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, and they're hosting this conference in Colorado Springs. A couple of judges are going to have a discussion with Roberts during the conference's traditional, what they call a fireside chat. I would imagine with the scope of that conversation, I don't know if fireside chat would apply to this. So the conference offers lawyers and judges, basically gives them a chance to learn more about emerging issues. Chat, sponsored by the Circuit's Historical Society, it usually focuses on the historic view of their career rather than discussing current events. Do you think that's going to go like that tonight? I would doubt it. Of course, back earlier this summer, Roberts appointed the court, 2005, by W. He voted to uphold Mississippi's law, but he did not join the conservative justices in also overturning Roe as well as Planned Parenthood v. Casey in the 92 decision. And quick side note here before we get to the next story, this is the Associated Press, or Slant. I'm quoting here. The overturning of Roe has paved the way for severe, I'll make it negative, severe abortion restrictions. Justice Department preparing to appeal a judge's decision granting the appointment of an independent arbiter to review records seized in that investigation into Trump's Florida home, citing national security concerns and other factors. Department has also asked U.S. District Judge Aileen Cannon to put on hold her directive prohibiting it from using the seized classified records. And Joe Biden going to be using the presidential office to campaign again regarding his successes. Probably call you and me some more names, things like that. He's going to be in Ohio, where obviously they've got a pretty hot Senate race there, too. Welcome to the show. This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri Feel Good Friday. What are you grateful for? What are you feeling good about? Highlight of your week? Let us know. 874-9390. Coming up just a few minutes from now, things that get on our nerves, including a big event that's unfolding right here in the Show Me State.
People take everything personally. I think the world revolves around them, right? Particularly on Twitter, right? I don't know. I'm not tweeting anyone. I'm just tweeting, okay? I don't know who's following me. I've got 12 million followers. I don't know who's following me. They can be following me without me knowing, right? Choose to read my tweet and then take that personally. That's like going into a town square, seeing a big notice board, and there's a notice, guitar lessons, and you go, but I don't want guitar lessons.
And that's why, by the way, you can follow us on Twitter. And I'll tell you, and I probably shouldn't do this, I'm a boring follow. I really am.
You were asking me this morning how a hashtag works.
Well, I was trying. So here's what happened. So Scott Fawn, he has Missouri Times and have fingers deep in Missouri politics, and he has a TV show that airs on KMOS here locally. It airs on KMCI in Kansas City, and it airs on the ABC affiliate in St. Louis. I'm doing a show, and I didn't know they were going to do this, but they asked, "What's your Twitter handle?" while we're doing the TV show.
Oh, no, and Stephanie wasn't there to tell you what your Twitter handle was.
And you weren't there. John, do you know your Twitter handle? See? That's what I do, too.
I don't know. Hang on.
So I don't, and I think I gave it at Branden Rathert, but it's actually, as I'm looking at it now, you can see it if you watch the show, at Rathert. Branden, at producer, underscore Hannah. She's a pretty good follow, actually, if you want to follow her. She's got some cool stuff.
And John is KWOS News Radio. He's official.
And what about, is Brian on the air? Something like that?
Yeah.
How do I pretend to even know other people's Twitter handles?
I don't know, and I don't know why you choose to put me on the spot for these.
Because it takes me out of the spot. By the way, that is comedian Ricky Gervais, and that is kind of, and he brings up a really good point. You know, you could put something completely innocuous on Twitter, like I like rainbows, and like he says, I hate rainbows, USOB, and that's one of those things that get great on people's nerves. By the way, so when I was doing This Week in Missouri Politics, we went to the Secretary of State's office. Jay Ashcroft was on the show first. And I kid you not, they had the League of Chick Voters out there holding up signs and stuff. And I kid you not. And if
wait, the League of Chick Voters, is that the official name?
I think it's called League of Women Voters. I think.
I just highly doubt that it's Chick Voters.
They were holding up these signs that said LCV, League of Chick Voters. It was League of Women Voters, and every once in a while. They would go, protect voters' rights. And I'm assuming they were obviously talking about the new voter ID law, which is going to be in effect coming up on November the 8th when we go and vote. And I'm thinking, doesn't this protect voters' rights and protect our integrity and protect the sanctity of really what we're trying to do, making sure that we're good to do? So there's a lawsuit, and it's brought by the ACLU of Missouri on behalf of the state chapters of the NAACP. This blows me away because the NAACP, here's what gets on. This frustrates me. This new law will disenfranchise people of color. Well, I'm of color. I have some color to me. I'm not disenfranchised.
Especially when you frost your tips.
I think next time Marsh and I make a big bet, I think the bet is if he loses, he's got to get his tips frosted.
John's got a lot of hair and it's all gray, and you have no hair. Well, you have a few hairs, I guess.
They're hanging on, man.
They're there.
They're hanging on with every last bit of might. It also says, according to to this lawsuit, it's going to disenfranchise people with limited income. Well, I have limited income, in effect, rural Missourians. And I will tell you, we can look to examples. We talk about people, and when they say people of color, that gets on my nerves. I get offended. I get triggered, Hannah, when I hear people use that phrase, people of color.
Aw, poor Brandon.
Anyhow, but we looked at Georgia where they were doing it, and there are really a lot of black people, and I don't want to get into a thing about race here on a Feel Good Friday, but a lot of people that are like, wait a minute, why is the NAACP trying to speak on my behalf and tell me I can't get out and get my voter ID?
Here you go. It's been a while.
Dang it makes me mad. I get triggered. I'm of color too. But they do that. It's because they're racist. But here's the other thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, John, but one of the things they're creating these awareness campaigns regarding these voter ID changes. We've been aware of this for a while, right? Ever since it was passed, and ever since it technically went into law prior to, we knew it was coming prior. We've been aware of this for a while, haven't we? So that's what I don't understand. We've been aware of this, and now we got to create awareness about it. We've been aware of it. You know, Gary Nolan and I should flip shows today because Gary does Frost Your Buns Friday, and I'm not trying to do a Frost Your Buns thing. Trying to do more of the...
Sure had me fooled.
His are about as frosted as yours right now, actually. But it's aggravating. Gary could do on his show, he could do Feel Good Friday. We could do Frost Your, because I think about all these things. I'm in the grocery store last night, and I'm going through, and I hate the self-checkouts.
Why?
Because I should get a discount on my groceries. I go to the grocery store, and I want you to ring it up for me, and I want you to bag it, because that's what I've always paid for in the price of my cans of Progressive soup. That's included in the price. So now if all of a sudden I'm going to bag my own groceries and I'm going to scan my own groceries, I should get a discount. But on the rare occasion I have to go through them, there's one yesterday, and it had 6 of these self-checkouts. And you know what happens whenever it doesn't work? It'll say, please place item in the bag. Please rescan item. Please get assistance. And there's 6 of them, and I swear to God, every single one was going off. And it was just making my head spin. It's just one of the many annoying things that happen at grocery stores.
I hope that was the worst thing that happened to you yesterday.
Yeah, that's my big 51-year-old guy problem.
One of my pet peeves at the grocery store is when you get stuck behind somebody that's going really slow. And it's like when you're driving, you can't get around them. You know, I was in Aldi on Missouri Boulevard in Jefferson City this week, and it was my last day of vacation, so I went during the day thinking it would be less busy. I could get in and out faster. No, there were a whole bunch of slow people in there. And the way that Aldi is set up, like, you can't really pass people very well because the aisles are narrow.
So, like, if I'm in Schulte's or if I'm in Mosier's, isn't it, what if we put up, it shouldn't, I understand when you're in a grocery store, I just understand it, or I assume it to be like it works like you're on I-70 or on 63 when you're in the aisle of the grocery store. If you're going really slow, you pull way over. You don't drive down the middle of the aisle.
I kind of liked when COVID was like in full swing and grocery stores had the stickers on the floor showing which way you were supposed to go down the aisle. I kind of liked that because flow of traffic was all moving one direction, and you didn't have to worry about people coming from the other side. And
874-9390. John, isn't that how you understand when you're in a grocery store? It works like you're on 54.
I will say I love self-checkout when it works. When it doesn't work, it is very frustrating. But I'm a huge self-checkout fan, in theory.
I would be okay with it if I get a discount. It's like when you go to the apple orchards or whatever, right? If you go somewhere and buy apples, you pay a certain money. But if you go to an apple orchard and you pick your own stuff, then you should get a discount. 874-9390. Sean, yeah. Or we put up. Can we put up traffic? Is it wrong to put up a traffic sign in the Schultes or the Walmart or the Mosers, like traffic, like like. Please.
Get out the way, please.
Way. I'm trying to get those cans of Progressive Soup. 874-9390. Dwayne, welcome into a Feel Good Friday on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. What's on your mind, man?
What's on my mind is the young lady who said, I liked it when it was all forced one way or another. I'm telling you.
Hi, Dwayne. That's me.
It's got to this point where we can't negotiate around and speak to people, and we have no hope. Bring out all the velvet ropes in the bank again. We can negotiate amongst ourselves to get our Progressive Soup and our saltine crackers. I mean, we should be able to have our cake. You need it too, and so should everybody else. You've got to work harder, young lady. I know it's more convenient and easier, but that's not what life is about. Life is actually about learning to deal with all those annoying people, and it'll help you with, managers and stuff in the future, or husbands.
I mean, I deal with Branden Rathert every day, so I feel like I'm pretty good at dealing with annoying people.
Dwayne, before we let you go, bud, what are you grateful for today, man?
Okay, about 168,000 people were lifted out of abject poverty yesterday, and the day before, and the day before. We do pretty good, don't we?
Yeah, and how do we do that?
Because we have very affluent Western world that lifts them out of poverty because we actually do share our stuff.
Dwayne, man.
Unfortunately, I hope it keeps going.
Thank you for being a part of the show, man. We appreciate you checking in this morning here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Coming up to you now.
we put a lot of care into those matchups. So we have a whole team of match specialists that help kind of come up with activity ideas and help look at the interests of both the big and the little to find a mentorship program that's going to work best for them.
Adam Britsky, he is with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Missouri. They did a big event yesterday. They did kind of a ribbon cutting to highlight what they are doing this month. And something interesting, I know Taylor Burks, who, of course, ran in the 4th Congressional District primary, the seat that Vicky Hartzler currently has. And, of course, the primary was run by Mark Alford, Kansas City TV guy, who was here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri this week. And I've been knowing Taylor Burks for a while. He used to be the clerk in Boone County. He's involved in a lot of other stuff. And all these years I've been knowing him, I just found this out about Taylor Burks. He's involved with the board with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Missouri. And if you're looking for something to do that's impactful, because, listen, it's easy to come here, apparently like we're doing this morning, just complaining about stuff, and that's not the intent.
It's supposed to be a feel-good Friday, and here we are whining about grocery stores.
And my big problem today. But I am serious when we talk about, with kind of what maybe news outlets and talk radio especially, it is a lot of complaining and doing something. We do some of that. But what I love about Big Brothers Big Sisters is what you do. Like if you volunteer to be a big, it's something I've done before in Idaho, and it was a remarkable experience. But you can make a difference in a kid's life who could be steered, maybe headed the wrong way. And that's one of those things I believe that we can do to make a difference. Check it out. It's Big Brothers Big Sisters, Central Missouri. They have offices in Jefferson City and in Columbia. Tonight, Jefferson City, big chamber event. And they're doing, and I wasn't aware of this, as with most things, I don't know until the last minute, but apparently it's supposed to be a fiesta or siesta kind of thing.
Not a siesta. That means nap. Fiesta means party. Yes, that is the theme.
My Spanish ain't much gooder than my English. So Hannah and I will be there. Marcia's going to be there. So if you're at that event tonight, just start shouting out our names. We would love to have the opportunity to meet you. Interesting. Regarding grocery stores. Oh, yeah, we got to complaining.
You
got to complaining about grocery stores. I really honestly believe you go through the checkout, self-checkouts. And this came up because I was at a grocery store last night, and like every single self-checkout in this one little spot, they were all talking. And I felt bad because they had one employee, because that's what they had left now, because robots, computers have taken on all these jobs because we can't hardly get people to work anyway and all. But when there's a problem, please put groceries in the bag. Please get us it. Please rescan. And like every single... all 6 of these computer voices were all talking at once, and it made my head spin. I mean, and not in a good way, because I used to pay good money to feel that way when I was in college. My head was spinning, and not in a good way. And apparently, I'm not the only one who get cranky about it. 874-9390. Kurt says he agrees with the discount idea. Old steak restaurant in Columbia, where we used to cost less, you could cook your own steak versus having it cooked in the kitchen.
Jim has a good point, though. He says if you had employees, you would understand why the grocery stores are going to self-checkouts. Said employees don't show up, or they show up late and they're getting more expensive to pay every day. You're probably getting a discount on your groceries because they've eliminated several jobs, which is saving them money. So that's a good point.
And I'm on board with Deb's plan. At least get a W-2 from the grocery. Every time I scan my own stuff, I want a W-2. I want a discount. I want something, man.
Roger's also poking fun at you. He says, yeah, we need a discount for self-checkout, like the one we get for pumping our own gas.
Listen, they just changed the law. In Oregon, it was a law you could not pump your own gas, and they just changed it in the past couple of years. And it was supposed to be because... here's a great real-life example. We talk about, I was going to say idiotic progressive policies. I'm trying to back off the name-calling. We see the progressive policy in a state like Oregon that is completely all progressive. And apparently the idea was years ago, we're going to force job creation. We're going to make a law that says you can't pump your own gas. You're going to have a specialized tech to pump your own gas. And then your gas prices are going to go up because now the gas stations have to pay these people for it. First, and I didn't know this. I was traveling to the Oregon coast about 20 years ago. And I didn't know they had this law. I get out of my car and I got the big old camper and I go up to the thing and I start Start pumping my own gas. And this little old crooked man with a ball cap, hey, what are you doing? You can't pump your own gas. I'm like, dude, I'm from Idaho. I know how to pump my own gas. I got this. Coming up a little bit after 7 o'clock here on Wake Up, Mid-Missouri, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has a special skill, and I didn't know it. And you'll get to hear that about 10 minutes from now. nationwide, whether it's here in Missouri, you have the right. Everybody has the right to be treated with dignity. Everybody has the right to be treated like an idiot. That's Joe Biden. We appreciate him because he is speaking from experience. Welcome to the show. Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Thank you. By the way, I want to start off with that. I want to introduce you to Mr. John Marsh. How are you today, sir? Excellent. From one Air Force brat to another, brother. Producer Hannah is here.
Good morning.
Brian Houseworth milling around here too. Stephanie Pell has the day off. I want to thank you for listening to News Radio 104.5 KWOS and 93.9 The Eagle. And I want to thank you for two reasons. Number one, and to thank you, to show my gratitude, I'm not going to talk about you turned on the TV and amazes me. I'm stunned at the coverage. I don't know if it's a generational thing. Maybe I am a callous SOB. I'll fess up to that sometimes.
Maybe.
Okay. Yep. It happened. I passionately ambivalent. And not to be rude, that's not it at all. But here's why I'm thanking you. Because we got to talking about grocery stores and our pet peeves, kind of the comical side of our pet peeves when we're going to grocery stores. And that's what people are responding to. That's what is it? Do the kids still say our text is blowing up, or have we moved on to another cooler phrase?
The texter's lit.
Texter's lit this morning. Our text is going viral.
Maybe. Points for trying, John.
But man, you know what people want to talk about this morning? Grocery store traffic and self-checkouts. Thank you. Seriously. Thank you. I do appreciate that because, it's like, yeah, I don't want to talk about another thing. The analysis, I don't have any analysis on that for you. And CNN tried offering us 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll tell you a quick funny story. Inside info here, by the way. And I'm not picking on the guy because I love him. It was just funny. He was kind of proving my point for me. I don't think he realized it. The star of the Gary Nolan show, Brian Hansen, yesterday he was hanging out here during the Randy Tobler show, which comes on after Sean Hannity here on the radio station. And starting about 3:30 in the afternoon, I'm hanging out here, chatting with Randy, and Brian Hansen is complaining. It's probably the same thing all of us were. Like, okay, we get it. Here's how bad it was last night, Marsh. It was so bad, there's nothing on TV because it was all, the England and the Queen has died, and well, that's what 96-year-old people do sometimes. It was so bad, I watched NFL football with those rainbow and unicorn messages on the back of their helmets for two teams I don't even care about. That's how bad it was. Watch football. Well, I used to be, only because my kid and I would go to Rams games. So there's some memories here. But yeah, that's how bad it was. I watched the Rams get walloped by the Buffalo Bills. Who's the quarterback? Is it, I want to say Jared Allen for the Bills. That's not it. What's his name? Josh Allen. Man, he's pretty good. He really is. I don't think he'll give our boy Patrick a run for his money, but he's pretty good. Exciting. By the way, we have a lot of football this weekend. Mizzou at K-State. How's Mizzou underdogs here? I don't know. Okay. And then, of course, we got the Chiefs.
Have you seen the drama with one of the Kansas State Stadium chants and how they're trying to put an end to it? You know what I'm talking about?
I don't, but I probably do. Can I guess?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to guess it's got something because it's Native American. It's a tomahawk chop. It's an Indian chant or something.
No, Kansas State University.
What's the chant that they don't want to use?
So they sing a song and they include in the song the statement FKU. And they're trying to crack down on that. I guess they've kind of warned Kansas State before. And they decided that it's going to go into effect for the Kansas State Mizzou game. Because they're afraid the Mizzou fans will join in. Well, and I was talking to our sports guys here in the building yesterday, and I don't know how you would ever stop a stadium chant. It's not like you can turn people away at the door. Well, you know, if you ban a certain type of outfit, or I know the Chiefs banned like Native American headdress a while back, it's not like that where you can turn them away at the door. You can't pinpoint once you're in the crowd who started the chant. You know?
Because how many people you figure show up for a K-State game anyway? Like 12,000? You can't stop.
Coming from the Mizzou fans, right?
You can't stop.
Yes.
So let me ask the baby boomer here in the room, Marsh, maybe not quite a baby boomer, but does that offend you? FK, what do they say? FK State? Is that what they chant?
FKU, yeah. Because there's a Kansas State
FKU.
University and Kansas University, like, rivalry.
So yeah. But what, you know, as a parent, as a husband, as a community member, when you go and you hear that, you're like, oh my, I can't believe they're saying that. Does it offend you? All right. Hannah?
No. Right?
Now, are they saying FKU, or are they actually saying the word?
No, they say the word. I just had to censor it to tell the story.
Good call, by the way. Well, that makes sense, because it reminds me of, you know, whenever people say, well, you didn't say the words, but we know what you meant, and I'm still offended. It reminds me of the Assumption song.
There was an old farmer who lived on a rock. He sat in the meadow just shaking his fist at some boys who were down by the creek. Their feet in the water, their hands on their mark.
John, is there anything wrong with that song? No.
She looked like a pretty young creature. She sat on the grass. She pulled up her dress and she showed them her ruffles and...
There is nothing wrong with that song. And if you think there is, it's your fault, right? Because you're assuming what comes next. That's on you. I play this at the stadium. I love that song. Where were we? We're complaining. We were complaining about K-State. By the way, a couple of highlight games you think as far as high school football is concerned? Very tactful. Welcome to the show. Feel Good Friday. So we're thanking you because our text is lit. Our text is blowing up. One of the things that, I don't know why we get irked by it, but going in the grocery store, I think, you know, when you're at Schulte's, you're at Mosier's, I think sometimes we need, and Hannah was the one that sparked this really, because she got frustrated. People, I just thought it's understood when you're pushing your cart down the aisles of a grocery store, it's like you're on 54. It's like you're on 63. If you're going slow, you pull over, you get over to the right, and you don't hang out in the middle of the aisle and block traffic in all ways. Am I misunderstanding this?
I mean, I wish that's how it was. I don't think many people follow traffic laws in the grocery store.
But they should. And then the self-checkouts. A lot of people, I think they're on board with this idea. If you go through a self-checkout, I think you should absolutely get a discount. Because I'm paying you for the price of groceries, and you're scanning it and bagging it. And if you're asking me if I want paper or plastic, and by the way, I'll take plastic because it's just easier, then I'm paying a price for all that. But if I got to do it myself, I should get a discount.
But like Jim said on the texter, you're probably getting more of a discount by using self-checkout because you're not having to pay for the grocery store employees' salaries.
But if I was already paying that price for my cans of Progressive soup, that's what I was paying, and now I got to do the work myself.
I actually prefer to do it myself.
874-9390. You're exactly right. I just read an article in the Wall Street Journal about, 2 weeks ago, and they're talking about these things may not be saving as much money as people had hoped. Number one, the tech that's involved with keeping these things going. Number two, the amount of theft. Let me ask you this, and I won't tell anybody. Have you ever accidentally, I don't want to say accidentally stole anything through one of the self-checkouts, but you go through and you realize, I don't know if I paid for that or not. And I'm too busy to go back and do the right thing.
Not that I know of. Oh, and that stinks because you can't blame anybody but yourself.
Well, and here's the thing, because here's the other thing that frustrates me on a Feel Good Friday is that, like, if there's a mistake at the cashier right away, you have your receipt and you're like, oh, excuse me, ma'am or sir. I don't have to assume that all cashiers are females. But if there's a mistake, I don't get access to the register at the self-checkout. If it's self-checkout, I should have access to the cash register. I like, this is not me. This is Sean saying this. He said, you ever go to Walmart? He says, watch who's blocking the aisles. It's the women cart drivers, just like out on I-70. 874-9390. Clay, welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Well, you just touched on what I was going to call about the theft possibilities at these self-checkouts. Because, the retailers like that, Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart, they work in an annual loss to theft into their profit loss statement, their estimation. Why do they charge this amount of money for a product? So they tag on a little bit of something because they're going to lose or have stolen products.
Yep.
And I can't imagine the amount of increase. I guarantee you it would almost offset any lost wages for employees, the amount of theft that's walking out of these places.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, Clay.
Because you're not going to put an alarm code. You're not going to drill an alarm code into a pack of fresh chicken breasts or deep into a cantaloupe.
Yep. It's not like
So
I'm
if you
going.
really-
It's like I'm not going to the Polo Outlet where they got the clips on the clothes and the stuff, and then they go and take. They're not putting clips on a cantaloupe or a can of Progressive soup.
Exactly.
It's not worth it.
They got to be taking one hell of a hit on lost and stolen items there.
Hey, before we let you go, man, let me ask you, what are you grateful for today? What are you feeling good about on a Feel Good Friday?
I'm grateful for all the flesh pump melons available for squeezing at the grocery stores.
I hear you, man. Wink, wink. Have a good one. By the way, I do want to get Anthony Blinken, and I said I was going to do this. We ran out of time here because everybody wants to talk about self-checkouts, and I'm digging it. Anthony Blinken, Secretary of State, has an interesting talent, and you're going to be able to hear it. We'll do that for you coming up 7:35. Meanwhile, we're going to do What's Hot with Hannah. What's smoking today, Hannah?
This is one of those stories that is only funny because nobody got hurt.
Good morning, 7:25-ish, which means it's...
Ooh, it's 7:27.
Missed it by that much. It's time for What's Hot with Hannah. By the way, here's the thing. Welcome in to the family. That's producer Hannah. Stephanie Bell's usually here. She is off today. John Marsh is here. Brian's hanging out. My name is Brandon. It's really good to meet you. Our phone number, anytime we can do something for you, 874-9390. So here's the thing why we make kind of this What's Hot with Hannah at 7:25. It's a real cool thing that Hannah does at 7:25-ish. And it was supposed to be, because I do have some rules I'm supposed to follow. And the rule on this, whenever we started this, I don't know, it's been 3 years ago. We're going to do this at 7:25. And we did it, I think, one time at 7:25. Hence the 7:25-ish, and usually it doesn't start till 7:28. It's 7:20. Just fun little story, something you can, drop on your coworkers today on a Feel Good Friday.
Oh, drop on your coworkers. That is a perfect segue, and you didn't even know what I was going to talk about.
Not bad for a 51-year-old dude. Is it matching what you're going to do?
It does, yeah. So I want to preface this. It's only funny because nobody got hurt, okay?
Sounds like something I would say.
Right. But this story just kind of made me giggle for some reason. Firefighters in Tennessee had to rescue a 2-year-old little boy. Of course, it was a little boy. From the roof of his house because he was up there just chilling and throwing glass objects into the street at people as they walked by. And the dad was home and had no idea that his son was just chilling on the roof.
Just tossing bottles of beer.
Yeah. And it's just a funny visual, a toddler up on the roof throwing stuff at people.
In diapers.
Yeah. It also makes me terrified to have children.
And it should. Trough full of empty beer bottles, dropping them on unsuspecting folks.
You would have done this.
Coming up on a Feel Good Friday. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, I think you're going to enjoy this. It's comical. He's got a talent I didn't know if you knew about it. We're going to do that like 5 minutes from now.
We still sell bottles of bleach with big labels on that say, do not drink. Right? Let's take those labels off, right? For 2 years. And then have a referendum.
It's a good point, Ricky Gervais. Thanks for making us laugh a little bit here on a Feel Good Friday. Wake up, Mid-Missouri. I am Branden Rathert. There's producer Hannah.
Good morning.
John Marsh is hanging out with us. Brian and his talk is a little bit gooder than mine as far as the English is concerned. Brian Houseworth is here. And you can join us, too, 874-9390. And here's one of those things, sometimes shows, well, hey, what is your opinion on this? We do that sometimes, too. Or you can also just pipe in. Think about it like this. It's like when Hannah and the girls are hanging out doing happy hour after work, and they're all sitting around and chatting and everything. You take part in the conversation. You don't wait until somebody says, Hannah, what do you think? You just, you pipe in. Or like when John and I are sitting having coffee. We just chat. We don't go, John, what do you think? Well, Branden, now what do you... We don't talk like that, do we? Well, maybe sometimes.
The teleprompter.
It depends on what it says up there on the teleprompter. I have this Anthony Blinken, Secretary of State.
You finally going to play that?
Yes. As long as you remind, because I want to do something else here. Really quick before I do that.
Of course.
Well, I didn't know that Anthony Blinken did this. He's our Secretary of State. And I learned yesterday, he was in Ukraine this week, said, hey, we found some more money growing on them trees out there behind the White House, so we're going to take a whole bunch of money, and we're going to take it to Ukraine and give it to them because we've given it to all these college students. By the way, I'm wondering as we get to Sunday, of course, September the 11th, big event happening in Camdenton. Over the weekend, that traveling memorial wall. That is so cool. I guess it was 2015. The traveling memorial wall was on the front lawn of the Capitol in Jefferson City, and I went down there, and it was with some from Lincoln University, Mr. Young from Lincoln University. And we went down there, and okay, it's a moving wall, and I've been to the actual wall in Washington, D.C. with our Central Missouri Honor Flight, and you know what? The power of the wall in D.C. and its emotional effect on me, no different than the traveling wall. It's still a pretty powerful thing, and it's going to be in Camdenton over the weekend. If you get a chance, check that out. But I'm wondering, as we think about all of our veterans, especially folks who signed up in the days following 9/11, I wonder how they feel about college debt forgiveness, college loan forgiveness. I mean, people that went like on the GI Bill. And I should have asked my dad this, John, since you and I are Air Force brats. I didn't even think to ask my mom or dad kind of what their take is from a point of view where they've served our country in that fashion. But I'm wondering, somebody did the GI Bill and did all that stuff and put in the blood, sweat, and tears compared to a kid who, signed up for a college loan, and now all of a sudden, King Joe, the newly crowned King Joe Biden, said, don't worry about it. I wonder how veterans feel, especially veterans who signed up for us after 9/11. Maybe just a rhetorical question. But I would like to play a little bit of, now this is political. By the way, big stories today. All the bridges are still up. The bridges over the Mississippi and Missouri River, everything's up. Stuff is...
Well, Operation London Bridge is...
Hannah.
Ugh.
Oh, Hannah. Oh, my.
You're the one who said it. I just pointed out to you maybe we shouldn't say that.
That was not my intent at all.
Sorry.
Gosh.
Awkward.
What was I? No, I'm sidetracked. Washington, D.C. City Council member. Man, Hannah's on fire.
I'm sorry. I wasn't even meaning it like a diss. It was just like, poor choice of words.
Well, when I said all the bridges are, it didn't even occur to me that the London, Operation London Bridge, which is weird that we got to have a code word. You know, the other thing, and I don't want to spend too much time on this because, God, it was always on TV last night, but is some of the TV stations, some of the national news stations, then they went to, and I don't know, the two girls that married the two brothers, and apparently they catfight and don't get along, and they make, and one of them not going to be there, and one, well, good, if y'all didn't get along, you probably shouldn't show up to a funeral anyway. Like, if somebody in my family dies, and, like, there's some friction in the family, probably a good idea that you just don't go. It's somebody's funeral. I don't need to say your dead body anyway. I love you, and God rest in peace, and I will remember our memories. I don't need to go and see your body, especially me and Cousin Eddie from Nebraska don't get along. It might cause a scene. I'm not going to go. And don't chastise me for it. But I don't feel so yesterday, and I'm not apologizing, I guess, but I don't feel bad for what Hannah just did. Yesterday, this is breaking every morning, 8:25. We do Morning Bell Business News, a little twist Stephanie Pell can give. We were talking about the Fed and saying, hey, we're going to meet a couple more times this year. We're going to keep raising the rate incrementally. And somebody said, why don't we just do it all at once? We know it's coming. And this is right kind of as we're officially getting the news. So the Feds are saying, hey, why do we keep around with this? We're going to meet several more times, and we know what we're going to do every single time. Let's just do the inevitable. Man, what a poor segue here. Speaking of the inevitable, Fox News has more on the Queen Elizabeth.
That
was
sad. No.
That was not intense. She's 96 years old, and Fox will have more. So I would like to say I apologize if I offended, but I did. Number one, it wasn't intentional, and I wouldn't be rude. And if Hannah's not going to apologize for her bridge comment, then I'm not going to apologize either. All right. I do want to play something funny. I think it's funny. And it's political. And it highlights a couple of things here. This hypocrisy from these people on the far left. We know one of the big issues that is affecting us this morning, nationwide, illegal immigration. And we know that finally you've got politicians that are saying we just can't handle them in these border states anymore. We got to send them to sanctuary cities like Chicago and Washington, D.C. And Mayor Lori Lightfoot, she's freaking out, calling the Texas governor a racist because he's sending people to where they want to be, which is a sanctuary city, which is what Chicago is. This is a D.C. council member. I think her name is Brianna Doe. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And here's who she is blaming. And I think it's sad, it's hypocritical, and it's something, and it's scary because this is affecting all of us, even here in the heartland of Missouri. But what she says here is just so, like, people that don't have self-awareness. You know, and when they're doing something stupid, they don't realize it. And you're kind of like chiding them at the chamber event going, dude, you can't behave like that here. That's what this reminds me of.
The governors of Texas and Arizona have created this crisis. And the federal government has not stepped up to assist the District of Columbia. So we, along...
The federal government hasn't stepped up to assist the District of Columbia. You mean like they haven't done it at the border? And John, I don't know... Do you laugh? I mean, that is so bad. Do you laugh or do you get angry? Yeah, and she's not done. She's not done with her set.
With our regional partners, we'll do what we've always done. We'll rise to the occasion. We've learned from border towns like El Paso and Brownsville. And in many ways, the governors of Texas and Arizona have turned us into a border town. We don't know how long this will take to resolve. We don't know how long they will continue busing. And so the right thing to do here is to be prepared to ensure we can greet every bus. We can get people off on the right foot. We can get them where they want to go.
Where they want to go is to your sanctuary city. And they're freaking out now because they're coming to their sanctuary cities. My goodness. It makes me that somebody that lacks that much self-awareness, that, by the way, somebody elected that person into office there in D.C. just blows me away. Did you know that Anthony Blinken also does music? I had no idea. He's the Secretary of State. Somebody turned to me. We were talking about, Blinken. He went to Ukraine, and they pulled some more money off the tree, gave him a whole bunch of money, and somebody said he played music, and I didn't know, and sure enough, Anthony Blinken, Secretary of State, we're going to hear this here now. Apparently with a group of guys, he kind of goes around and kind of reminds you of a guy like you might see in a frat house, probably about his 5th or 6th year into college. And the only thing he has is his guitar to allow him to socially engage. That's kind of what he reminds me of as we watch him play. Yes, that guy in the movie Animal House. That guy. That's all he's got going here. He's doing a song here, and this is like an old blues classic. Everybody from Eric Clapton to people like Jeff Beck, they've covered a song, and it's called Hoochie Coochie Man. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken singing Hoochie Coochie Man.
Everybody knows.
Hoochie Coochie Man. By the way, that is not Anthony. He does play a little bit of guitar, but that's not him on the guitar. I didn't know that about the guy's name on the guitar. Incidentally, who I imagine he might be named Secretary of Education or something. Since you got, yeah. The guitarist named Skunk Baxter, who apparently is pretty well known in blues circles. Yeah, and I think he did some stuff for Steely Dan. But I could imagine Anthony Blinken as Secretary of State. Maybe they make Skunk Baxter Secretary of Education. And ladies and gentlemen, the Secretary of Education, Skunk Baxter. Coming up just a few. By the way, we're about an hour away from winners and losers of the week. You got some folks that you would like to pick for winners and losers of the week. Get those texts to us, 874-9390, 874-9390. A couple of other big events that are happening in town. Talked about the moving Vietnam wall. It's in Camdenton. Other big event happening in the Ashland area. I want to turn you on to that coming up. We'll do that a few minutes from now. Meanwhile, this is Eric Clapton. I sound like a music disc jockey all of a sudden. Here's Eric Clapton with a good version of Hoochie Coochie Man.
So here's the deal. This continues while we're on the ground. I'm going to have to pull back to the gate. Everybody's going to have to get off. We're going to have to get security involved. And it's vacation that's going to be ruined. So you folks, whatever that airdrop thing is, quit sending naked pictures. Let's get yourself to Cabo.
Southwest Airlines pilot definitely going to be one of our winners of the week. Talking about, and Apple came out with a new product this week, and apparently it's a lot of hype to it. And I guess one of the big hype pieces with their new phone, and whenever Apple comes out with new things, they do a big event. The big thing, I guess, with this, it's fairly inexpensive compared to a lot of their other products. But this Apple AirDrop is a thing, and I don't understand. And I'm an older guy. I'm still on Droid. I have my faults. So I don't understand how. But apparently, like, if you're around somebody, you can just drop this kind of stuff. Do you use this?
AirDrop.
What did I call it?
Well, I don't think you called it anything. It's just, that's what it's called, is AirDrop.
So if you have somebody you would like to nominate for winners of the winners and losers of the week, we would love to hear those, because and by the way, the more localer, we love that kind of stuff. As a matter of fact, kind of a little bit of a taste of what's going to be coming up here on a Feel Good Friday at 8:35. We're going to be nominating a local city councilman for one of our winners of the week, a local media outlet, a local media personality here in mid-Missouri that we're also going to be picking for one of our winners of the week. So we've got a lot of good stuff in there. And if you have somebody, 874, and you can pick winners, you can pick losers too. And a correction, I think I said Coochie, Hoochie Man. Chris said the song that we were talking about with Mr. Anthony Blinken, it was Hoochie Coochie Man that Anthony Blinken was playing. Appreciate the correction on that. I don't know what the song, but it's a great blues classic, so classic that I can't even get the name right. So some of the things happening around town. We talked about this seriously. If you get a chance to go in Camdenton, they're doing the wall, the traveling memorial wall. This came through Jefferson City, or at least when it was 2015, fall of 2015, and it was more of a moving sight than I thought. I thought, well, okay, it's a traveling wall. I'll go and see it. Pretty powerful. Going to be in Camdenton over the weekend, doing an air show there too. And the other thing, and this has generated a lot of excitement. There was a little, I don't want to say controversy, but some neighbors in the Ashland area were like, hey, how is this with the traffic coming to this business? So there was some of that. And I will tell you, Nick Parks, who has been working on Lakeside Ashland, doing a soft opening this weekend. I know he has been incredibly respectful, and he's been trying to work with these neighbors, and he's serious. He's such a good guy for this community. But they did a thing last night. And if you go down 63, you might be able to see part of it. They've got a big movie screen there and big plans. They've got kind of the works of a lake going in. They're going to be doing all kinds of things, but they're doing kind of their soft opening tomorrow night. They're going to be, or actually tonight. It's Feel Good Friday. They're doing that tonight. And they're doing, it's some documentaries on rock climbing. You might be thinking, well, I am not into rock climbing. It's pretty cool. It's pretty intense. But more importantly, it's kind of a, let's ease into this thing and see what it's going to be like. And I can tell you, it is pretty phenomenal what they are doing. And I hope you get a chance to take part in that. Obviously, lots of high school football. Chiefs get into action this weekend. Mizzou's in action. And I want to remind you, even though Mizzou's not at home this week, we do our Tiger tailgates every home game. This is so cool. And it's all free. So here's what you do. Typically, like Wednesday prior to the game, a whole bunch of businesses that you can go to. And you go to our websites, 939theeagle.com or kwos.com. And you go to places like in Columbia, you can go to Big O Tires. In Jefferson City, also Big O Tires. Some other places like Speedy Bees in New Bloomfield, you can go there. And you get these free passes, man. And we feed you. There's free drinks, all kinds of cool stuff. High Noon Hard Seltzers, Buffalo Wild Wings, Culligan of Mid-Missouri. All kinds of cool stuff. And every home game for Mizzou, we're doing the Tiger tailgates. Joe Biden, in what, a span of 7 days, everybody has the right to be treated with dignity, but everybody has the right to be treated as an idiot. And I got to, the guy speaks from experience. And I tell you, and I will say this, and Hannah will get my back on this. A lot of times I say, Joe and I have a lot in common. Forgetful in the words.
Bumbling a little bit,
forgetting where I'm going, forgetting what I'm talking about, and the idiot part sometimes, too. We get, we say things that, there you go. Man, I shouldn't have ought to said that. I have a feeling Joe does it more often than I do, but I get it. Welcome into the show. Wake Up, Mid-Missouri. My name is Branden Rathert. There's Mr. Brian Houseworth.
So good to see you, my friend, and good to be back.
Well, glad you're here. We missed you for a few days. Of course, that is producer Hannah.
Good morning. I hate to razz Houseworth on his first day back from vacation, but he forgot to wear red today.
Kind of, I agree to a certain extent, but to a certain extent. But I was trying to find something because I wanted to meet what we were trying to do, and then Victoria was saying we're red, white, and blue, and this is the closest thing I could come. Red, white, and blue, obviously, because Patriot Day is Sunday. So I thought maybe this is kind of red, but I was trying to find something that would match. So it would match on both.
And if you're watching the show on our YouTube channel, Wake Up Mid-Missouri, you go to YouTube and you can watch. Kind of interesting because you got like behind the scenes stuff. You'll see that we all are wearing red, and there's a reason that we wear red.
We wear red on Fridays to remember everyone deployed.
And it's kind of cool because as we try to mention it to encourage you to do it. And I think it's really cool, like when you go out in public and you see other people wearing red. As a matter of fact, Columbia Pachyderms, they meet every Friday, barbecue joint at Stadium and Forum, and it's right by a Veterans United campus. And obviously, we know their affinity for military and veterans and those folks still deployed. And so you go around that campus there, or any of the Veterans United campuses, and man, you see these people wearing red. It's really cool, and it's something that Hannah a couple of years ago.
I'm still salty about this, but it's fine.
John, you know the story. A couple years ago, Hannah said, hey, we should wear red on Fridays and kind of make a deal out of it here on the show because we do all this work with the Central Missouri Honor Flight and Welcome Home, who has their big annual picnic coming up, Logboat Snapper. Logboat Brewery, Logboat Snapper. That's a specific beer that I used to drink. Logboat Brewery makes Logboat Snapper.
They do.
Gosh, I loved the taste of that beer. Probably would still love it, but the problem is...
You don't drink anymore.
It's got booze. It's got alcohol in it.
I'm proud of you, by the way.
746th day without a drink.
That's fantastic.
That's
awesome.
All I care about is today, because I can still listen, even in sobriety, I can still do stupid things. And I still mess up. But, isn't that the hard part in life, though, sometimes? Because I always think being able to admit, when you're wrong.
That's true.
I mean, really, maybe it's a rhetorical question. I don't want to put my fellow Air Force brat on the spot here. But when was the last time you had to go to somebody and admit, hey, man, I messed up. I'm sorry. Sometimes that's a little bit easier, I guess. Sure. I messed up, own it. Anyhow, so not Logboat Brewery, who makes the Logboat Snapper. Welcome Home is doing their annual picnic there, and that's always a good time. So Hannah said, hey, with all of this work that we try to do with veterans and our love and appreciation for those folks, we should wear red on Fridays. And I don't remember who it was. I don't know if it was one of the interns here on the show. I don't know who it was, but I don't remember the exact. Maybe met with a lukewarm reception, or it was kind of like, oh yeah.
No, I'm pretty sure you said, oh, that's cool, and then moved on. And it was something that I personally was doing way before we started doing it on the show, and so I just kind of did it myself, and then somebody else presented the idea to you, and you thought it was the greatest thing ever.
Well, here's what I have in common with Joe. Sometimes with King Joe. Sometimes I say stupid things, but I'm also very forgetful. I don't know if I've ever forgotten parts of the Declaration of Independence and said, the thing or the Constitution. I don't know if I've ever done that, but I get very forgetful. At a Boone County Republican event a couple of years ago, and a former mayor of Centralia, and I think, wasn't Tim Granke, he was mayor for quite a while in Centralia.
I think so.
I thought, yeah.
What was the name?
Tim Granke?
Yes, he was mayor.
Yeah, he was mayor for a while,
Oh, yeah.
it seemed like. And he told this story about how Red Friday came to be, and as I roughly remember it, the story here, but he was getting on an airplane somewhere and told this great story about somebody who was still deployed. And we talk about the veterans and those serve, and even in peacetime, we forget, even when the stuff ain't hitting the fan, we still have, a lot of folks that are still deployed. My mom, when she was in the Air Force, she'd go to Korea all the time. She'd be gone for a month at a time, 3 months at a time. And anyhow, the guy wore red, and he said, we wear red, remember, everyone deployed. So that's why we do it. So, yeah, so then after that event, I came back to Hannah and said, hey, I heard this really cool thing we should start doing.
Uh-huh. I said, hey, that sounds familiar. I told you that a year ago.
Yeah. So that's why when you watch the show, you'll see that we're all wearing red. By the way, Stephanie Bell is off today. And Patriots Day is Sunday, obviously. And it's kind of weird with the news events of yesterday, nonstop coverage on the national TV. But I'm wondering, how would it be? And I think we have this conversation every year. We also don't like, and obviously, so Patriots Day, Sunday, 9/11. And today, it's a lot of that. Hey, remember this, and they keep showing those video clips over and over and over, the planes and the Pentagon and all that stuff. And yeah, I remember. But I'm wondering, would that have been the big thing today? Because otherwise, our big thing, and no disrespect meant towards anybody, our big thing here on the show has been pet peeves in grocery stores. We think this was an offhand conversation, but Marsh, I guess we're all in agreement. When you're in a grocery store, if you're in Schulte's, Mosier's, wherever you are, it's pretend like you're on the highway. If you're on the right, go slow, and have some self-awareness. Don't go down the middle of the lane. Stay to one side or the other. Or when the people get to chat. One of our listeners, Sandy, texted 874-9390. She says it's usually the dudes who log jam.
You should also look both ways before you just jut out of an aisle.
It's I think we should have, it's almost like we need traffic signs in the grocery, like a merge sign, like a look before you turn. Hell, put traffic circles in the grocery stores. I don't care. Traffic signals.
I would say carts need turn signals, but people don't use those when they drive cars.
That's true.
So they're not going to use them in the grocery store.
I think they're all phenomenal ideas. Does anybody remember, because I don't want to go back to September the 11th. Yeah, we know what it was like, but
I don't remember anything about September 11th.
Oh my gosh, that's right. When were you born?
I was born in April of 2000. Wow. So I was just over a year and a half old.
Which means a lot of the young journalists that are, starting out at the television stations, the papers that are in the Hannah's age group, they don't have any recollection of it. They were too little. And in some cases, they weren't born at all. And we try to keep that in mind. It's because when we're talking about all the images and stuff, it's just, it's hard. It's hard to even talk about it. It's awful.
Yeah, and it's not, and it was always frustrating. I get it. I get the national news outlets, they carry like what we've seen with the Queen dying. It's nonstop because people want to tune in at any given minute and see stuff that. And it was the same thing and I dread the word anniversary in this context, but every year I don't want to see it. But does anybody remember? We'll take a phone call from Ken here real quick at 874-9390. But alas, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm just asking casually offhand. Marsh, you remember there was really kind of one big political story that was front and center in at least a month.
Absolutely remember it.
Do you? Okay, don't tell us, but you think you know what it is.
I do.
All right, Marsh. All right, we'll see. Let's chat with Ken we'll have that coming up here for you. Ken, welcome into Wake Up Mid-Missouri. What can we do for you?
Hey, Brandon. Thank you. thank you for mentioning the Welcome Home Charity Picnic.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a member of the Rockbridge Lions Club, and we started it 5 years ago. Unfortunately, this year, due to all the construction at Logboat, we had to move it to the Farmers Market Pavilion.
Oh. Well, I'm glad you called in then.
Well, I listen to you all the time. It's actually coming up on Monday, September the 19th, from 5 to 8. Unfortunately, also, with the price of everything going up, price of our tickets for the picnic had to go up to $40.
That's all right, man.
Yeah, 100% of the proceeds goes to Welcome Home. My Rockbridge Lions Club, we don't keep anything from this.
Thanks for sharing that on a Feel Good Friday. And the other thing that I want to thank you for, we love whenever we get something wrong here. We love those immediates whenever somebody runs our stuff through the ministry of truth here on the show and corrects us. We're cool with it.
Well, also, Welcome Home. This is their 30th anniversary. They've been in operation for 30 years.
Oh, man.
And everybody who comes to the picnic gets a special gift from Welcome Home.
And it's a great event, and the bar.
It is.
It really is, and we say that about a lot of events, especially as they relate to veterans. We've got the Vietnam traveling memorial coming through Lake of the Ozarks this weekend, but the barbecue at this annual picnic that you guys do, I know from having been there the past several years, it really is an amazing event. Man, we will look forward to seeing you there.
All right. Well, I'll definitely be there all day, all night.
Ken, make sure you come up and say hello, okay?
I will do. All right. Thank you.
Man. We appreciate that. Also, John, big event in Jefferson City tonight, Canterbury Hill Winery. Yeah. So if you're there, just start shouting out, Producer Hannah. Even if you don't see her, just start yelling the name, and we'll find you tonight here in Jefferson City. Big story. September, even up to September the 10th, 2001. What do you got?
Actually, the morning of Congressman Gary Condit, State of California.
I can't believe you remember that.
Well, I'll tell you why. A woman named Chandra Levy. There was also another big story, and that was shark attacks in Florida. And how I remember it, my mother and I would try to, right before football season, would try to go to Florida when she was healthy. And there were a lot of shark attacks and stuff. But I remember being down there, and it was Fox, MSNBC. It was all, and there really wasn't a slant on the networks. They were all pretty much, but the implication was, the implication was that this congressman was involved in her death. It turned out not to be the case. It basically, his political career ended. But that was all going on, and that story just kind of went away because of 9/11. And Gary Condit was still in office when that happened. I remember him showing up at the Washington Memorial on television when they were doing the service. But yeah, that was a big, big deal. And I believe it was another suspect they later captured in that case.
And here's what's interesting, because and I can't just pick on progressives here. It can any politician, whatever the party affiliation is, but he was asked by Connie Chung about, what did happen, what didn't happen with this young Chandra. And by the way, you know what he did after? So his congressional career fell apart, and he ended up getting into business, and that also didn't go so well for him. As a matter of fact, maybe we'll cover that in the Morning Bell business news. A little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you, and of course, the twist today is Stephanie. He's not here. She has the day off. We'll do that coming up about 5 minutes from now. Hello, it's 8:28, time for the Morning Bell Business News with that little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you. She'll be back here in a few days. I don't know. So the national news outlets so bad last night. I even watched an NFL game that I really had no interest in because I was tired of seeing everything else on the TV. But I did see this, and I thought it was pretty interesting for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's a great concept. Number two, it's kind of one of those, I don't know, kind of a woke company acquiescing like, man, we know since the tragic events of January the 20th of 2021, we know the economy sucks. It's a commercial for Walmart, and it's a dad and a little girl, and they're driving down, and every place they're going to get gas is ridiculously high, and he's reacting to how crazy high these gas prices are.
What the?
When gas prices rise, you realize how fast 10 cents adds up.
Can you believe the?
And up.
The.
And up. Become a Walmart Plus member and save 10 cents a gallon at Exxon and Mobil station.
I thought it was interesting for a couple of good reasons. Number one, obviously, they catch your attention. But number two, I thought, here's a company kind of saying, yeah, we are screwed. I was in the football game last night, Bills and Rams. I had no interest in that game, but it was about all. That is about all that was on TV besides the other stuff. Chiefs this weekend, Mizzou, KU tomorrow. By the way, Wainwright, Molina set a record. Winners and losers of the week coming up 5 minutes from now. You can get in your nominations at 874-9390.
People take everything personally. I think the world revolves around them, right? Particularly on Twitter, right? I don't know. I'm not tweeting anyone. I'm just tweeting, okay? I don't know who's following me. I've got 12 million followers. I don't know who's following me. They can be following me without me knowing, right? Choose to read my tweet and then take that personally. That's like going into a town square, seeing a big notice board, and there's a notice, guitar lessons, and you go, but I don't want guitar lessons.
Ricky Gervais there. I am completely on board with him, which is why I'm a pretty boring follow on Twitter at Rathert. Branden, you really want to follow somebody, it's producer Hannah.
Really?
I think so.
I wouldn't say I'm that interesting of a follow.
Compared to what I do, you are. Yeah.
The bar for that's on the floor.
Yeah. John Marsh, Brian Houseworth, Stephanie Bell. He's got to be back here in a few days. Welcome into the show. By the way, before we get into winners and losers of the week here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri, I think listener Tanya turned us on, and I don't know where to put this, but I want to make sure we highlight it because Sue Turner was a community leader in the Ashland area for a long time. Both Sue and Jim served as mayors of Ashland. Mr. Turner for 16 years and Mrs. Turner for 5 years as a retired person. She gave countless hours to church and community at Community United Methodist Church. And apparently she died, so we appreciate the heads up on that. And I wish I had more information for you offhand. She was born July 21st, 1938. And she passed away on August 28th, Southampton Place. Her services are going to be about a little over an hour from now, 10 o'clock. So her and her husband, active in local politics for a long time. So just want to give our shout out there and let folks know, because they both, you get that name recognition for doing something for a long time. And just want to make sure that we highlight that.
And now for nominees for the winners and losers of the week.
Of course, we don't do nominees. We do the real thing. Winners, losers of the week. Still have time to, get a couple of those in if you would like. 874-9390. 874-9390. I'm gonna go first, if I may, here. I do want to pick Brian McGraw, Superintendent, Jefferson City Schools. Attended the city council meeting Tuesday night earlier this week, where, of course, talked about the affordable housing, economic workforce housing, whatever you want to call it. But superintendent, Jefferson City Schools, he was there, and it's kind of a good exchange between him and city councilman Scott Spencer. And Scott Spencer was saying, hey, man, we appreciate you, showing up and just kind of keeping us abreast of what's going on. And Brian McGraw talked about when he first moved here and kind of what he had to do to get the kids to come here.
The kids didn't want to go at first, so we told them we would buy them a dog. We're a year and a half here, and we don't have a dog yet, so we're delaying all we can.
I thought that was cool. And John, probably when kids were younger, sometimes we had to bribe them with stuff like pets. But I thought that was cool. Brian, I always appreciate stuff like that, even though it was a 5-hour meeting. I do appreciate kind of those. Number one, you have one community leader. You have the superintendent, public school system, at a city council meeting saying, hey, kind of here's what's going on in the schools. And then I always think, when you get personal like that, and from your news background, I bet it's kind of always interesting for you, too, when you're chatting, because you're always on a news level. But then when you get into the personal stuff, that's got to be interesting, I would think. Yeah, because you get to know them, and it kind of adds more of a human element to those people, whether we read about them in the Jefferson City News Tribune or the Missourian, and then when you hear somebody saying something personal, because a lot of times, the news, it's veneer, facts, things like that. So I appreciate that. Mr. Houseworth, winners, losers?
I've got two winners. I don't have any losers this week. Number one, I'm going to nominate Dr. John Mosley. He'll be formally sworn in as the president of Jefferson City's Lincoln University. And I know he's been there as interim. It's a big deal. Branden and John knows this too. At Lincoln, they'll make it's a huge deal. 1:30 ceremony today, and they'll have the laying of the wreath at the military area at 1 today. So I nominate them, and nominate as well, Branden, Mercy Hospital. My mom graduated from physical therapy. this week. That's a big deal, and the job they do in St. Louis to take care of people. I saw some really hard things in there, people that had strokes. My mother, thank God, hasn't had that, but just they do a wonderful job, and I appreciate their good care with her.
Hannah, winners, losers?
I have 2 winners of the week. Yadier Molina and Adam Wainwright.
Man.
Did you see what they did last night?
They set the record or tied the Major League record. I think they set it. Tied it. Here. They did something really.
They tied it. They tied it.
Okay.
Yep. So they tied the record for most winningest battery, which I think is pitcher-catcher combo, right? Houseworth?
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
Appreciate you stepping out on a limb, Hannah.
That's true.
I'm trying.
Good work.
Good job. That's
so,
good.
yeah, they tied the old MLB record, which had stood for like 50 years.
Mickey Lolich, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But yes, that's Hannah's nomination's very well. I mean, that's a big deal. That really is, and may never be done again.
See, it's one of those things. I was hoping if I just said a little bit of information, Houseworth would help me out, and he didn't. He let me drown.
Well, no. I've mentioned Mickey Lolich. I think I've got the right guy, Mickey Lolich. But I mean, it was definitely Detroit. But great job on that, and in battery too. You just don't hear that term very much anymore.
No, you don't.
Exactly.
They're
yeah,
besties.
exactly. And John, if I'm not mistaken, didn't was it Lolich or Denny McLean? One of them had a connection to Jeff City. Denny McLean. Okay, yeah, a Jeff City connection.
Before we get into more winners, if you guys, I do want to sneak in. I always hate dropping in these losers in between all this positive stuff, but we did get a nomination from Roger for Columbia City Councilwoman for Loser of the Week, Pat Fowler. She wants to do more studies, city council meeting, and I agree with Roger. She likes this. She likes to hear herself talk, and I know Stephanie Bell will always bring up the point. Well, to an extent, that's important. I just don't see it with Pat Fowler. And also, the folks, and it just baffles me. There was that big fight a year ago. Brian Houseworth and I were at that courthouse for more than one year. We got to take these murals down. We can't. And then this week they they shovel up some dirt and they're going to put it in a jar and put it in the courthouse. And what I heard, the reasoning that I heard earlier this week was the same reasoning that we heard for them wanting to take the murals down. And it came down, and it reminded me. Because they took some dirt and they put it in a jar, and they're putting the jar into the courthouse to and the person who spoke at this event this week said it's to remind people of our history. And isn't that why we took the murals down? As a matter of fact, Fred Perry, editor emeritus of Inside Columbia Magazine. Is it Antel and Oxenhandler? He calls them the Righteous Brothers.
Rusty Antel and Gary Oxenhandler.
Fred Perry calls them the Righteous Brothers. Because basically, they were sitting having coffee one day and said, hey, what makes you mad? What triggers you? You know what? Those murals. And they got on this big thing. But it reminded me of the scene from, is it Pirates of the Caribbean? Because I'm thinking, because the mural to me is more powerful than a jar of dirt, even if you put a plaque. Because when I kept hearing that and I tried, I'm like, no, I can't do that. But it reminded me of that scene, Johnny Depp on the boat, and he's got the important jar.
Look what I got. I got a jar of dirt. And guess what's inside it?
When Johnny Depp, that's all I could think of when they said we're scooping. And I get the hallowedness of what they did. It was a guy who was lynched there in Colombia over 100 years. I get it. But it
seems counterintuitive.
Yes. Thank you. Counterintuitive. That's the word I'm looking for.
And the person who was the lynching was horrific. It was horrible. His name was George Bush, by the way. George Bush was the victim's name, and that was terrible. I don't on the murals. I don't remember when they took. And I was there. You were there that day. I don't remember any discussion at the time about soil or dirt. I don't remember that. Now maybe that came later. But what they really wanted to do was get them out of there. They being Antel and Oxenhandler, and put them in essentially a museum or wherever they could take them. Maybe that came at another meeting that we missed.
Mr. Marsh, what do you got? I thought that was very powerful because you and Stephanie, even the day before, had kind of, you both looked at me like, Brandon, what the heck are you talking about? What do you mean workforce development housing? And both you and Stephanie made the point, this sounds like sounds like, low income housing. So just say, be honest about it. So I thought that was cool. You got anybody else? Yeah. And sharing his experience with something that was very ugly. I also want to give kudos to Sean Gladney. He is the son of Bryant Gladney, first responder killed last year, I-70 in Boone County. Governor Parson this weekend, Jefferson City, kind of recognizing, I think, 23 frontline responders, and Sean Gladney accepted this award on behalf of his father. And what I thought was so cool about Sean is it's got to be an emotional time, but he was very bright and positive, and I thought it was really cool. Do want to sneak in some more, but I want to go back to John. I almost called you John Mayer, the guitarist.
What?
John. You could back up Anthony Blinken on the Hoochie Coochie Mama song that he did with Baxter Skunk. Jack Deacon, this week at the city council meeting in Jefferson City.
Come to grips with single family has to be developed. We can have programs for that. Workforce assistance. This isn't workforce housing. This is for lower income housing.
And I just thought that was, there it is. What else do you need to say on it? And finally, I think, Hannah, you got anything else? Are we getting everything here? I don't see anything else here. John, you got everything? And also while we were talking about Yadier Molina, he popped 2 home runs yesterday. Cards didn't win, but still, Cards in first place. NL Central getting to the halfway point. Almost, what do we have, like 20 days left in the season. I also want to pick, now they are news partners, ABC 17. I'll just tell you that up front, but I do want to pick them as one of our winners of the week. And Marissa Holloway, who's back, man, she did such a good job here in town. She went off and she did some, did some other things in life, and she is back, and she joined us recently on the show.
This year last, I bought and sold a house, got married, had kids, all those like big life things. Coming back here and looking at the community through that lens, there's just different things that matter to me now that probably matter to the viewers here.
Parks, Brandon, maybe?
Parks. Oh, I know.
Thank you, Stephanie. But I thought what was really cool about that, because a lot of times, folks, a lot of folks, especially, when it comes to media, the goal is, I want to start here, and then I'm going to work my. And she went to the big market. She worked in St. Louis, and I want to come back home. I want to raise my. She's got 2 kids now. She's married. How cool is that? Coming up at
Here's a big old serving of leftovers on 93.9 The Eagle. Enjoy.
All right, leftovers here on KWOS at 93.9 The Eagle on Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Kind of what we do at the end of the show, things that we didn't get to because we ran out of time, what have you. One of the things we started to talk about a little bit as we get ready for Patriots Day. And it's pretty cool events talking about the big the welcome home picnic, the annual picnic. Usually it's at Logboat.
Spit it out.
At Logboat. It's not at Logboat Snapper. It's usually
Brewery.
At Logboat Brewery, where they make Logboat Snapper, which used to be my favorite beer. Now, if I drank beer, it would still be my favorite beer. This year, they've moved, I said, to the farmers market. You can check out the Welcome Home website. Also, the Vietnam Traveling Memorial Lake this weekend, Camdenton. They're doing an air show. So the wall's on display today, tomorrow, Sunday, 9 to 9 p. It is the moving wall. And if you get a chance, it was in Jefferson City in 2015. And it was, it had a bigger effect on me than what I thought, because it's a traveling wall. But I realized standing there in that wall, and it was so cool, man, because they did it up right. It's there on the front lawn of the Capitol, and it's like lit up, and they have some events. And it wasn't about, the actual wall. It was about the people that were there honoring, kind of what it meant. And I got to tell you, man, it had this effect on me that I didn't expect. And I've been to the wall in Vietnam. So if you get a chance, that might be cool to check out this weekend. And we were talking about one of the big stories on September the 10th. Some of those big stories. Michael Jackson was on some kind of comeback. Gary Condit. So, you know what? He was the one. For a while, he was suspected in the death of Chandra Levy. That was the big news story on the morning of September 10th. His ongoing scandal. You know what he did? Obviously, it ruined his congressional career. He went and opened up a chain of ice cream shops, Baskin Robbins, I think in Oklahoma. And those apparently didn't do so. I don't know what the guy is doing today, but it was so funny because what he said when he was asked by Connie Chung, like, hey, give us the truth about what's going on here. Even though this was like 21 years ago, it just sounds so familiar.
But did you reveal that you were having an affair with her?
I'm not going to go into the aspects of the details.
I'm not going to go into the aspects of the details. That is just,
yikes.
Right? 21 years ago, and I don't care what political party, that's what a lot of when politicians, when they don't want to tell the truth, I don't want to get into the aspects of the details. You know what I feel good about on a Feel Good Friday? My dad probably smiling right now because the